Welcome back to Black and Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Monet, where we talk all things politics and pop culture. Now, you guys, a lot has been happening. I can't even begin to recap it all. There's two directions that I want to go in, okay? There's Candace and there's Tucker and there's Ben, and I really want to do a little deep dive on that, but we might save that for next week. Then we have all of the things going on. The pennies are being discontinued. I don't know what that's going to do for our currency. There's Texas A&M. There is the tariff rebate checks. I'm sure the world is so excited about that. But listen, we're going to get into it all. Welcome back to Black and Classic Podcast.
Blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. I have no.
So, to jump in with our recap, I did post some reels and some clips from last week's episode, and you guys really had a lot of thoughts and opinions, as did I. I did think you guys were going to have negative reaction, but you guys actually kind of agreed with me, which I was pleasantly surprised by, that I do believe there needs to be an age limit on politicians. A lot of you guys kind of were in the same range. Someone did say a little bit higher than me. I thought 70. I think I saw a comment that said 80. Some people on TikTok were saying stop it at 65. And I just believe, if we're all in agreement, this is something that needs to happen because being so close to 90 or even 100 is just far too long to be in any seat across the board, unless it's your own private company. Then do what you will, okay? Because we know, is it Rupert? I think Rupert's still in control. He barely wants to give his kids anything. Like, we know the billionaires and the multimillionaires, they like the control, but hey, it's your company. Do what you want to do, okay? I will say though, in that same vein, I was watching, his name is Pootie on YouTube. If you haven't watched him, go look it up. His name is Pootie on YouTube, and he was visiting the Black communities in Russia. And they had mentioned that basically in Russia, you can't get too wealthy, right? If you get to a certain point, then the government intercedes and they're like, hold up, slow down. We need to take X from you because it needs to be almost like a even playing field. So you can't just get to this exuberant amount. So in the video, the guy was like, a Jeff Bezos would never exist. Elon Musk would never exist in Russia. And it just makes sense. I think if you understand like anything in the world, greed is just not a good thing. So that's just a side note, but I just wanted to mention that because I think a lot of these people, they feed on power, they feed on greed. All of the articles came out about Nancy Pelosi and how much money she was making. So to me, it's just power and greed, and too much power and too much greed is never a good thing. But with that being said, we're now going to jump into our local news. So, with local news, the first thing that I wanted to discuss was that the Senate approved an emergency fund, and then they're also debating the housing refund. So, this emergency fund was to protect against certain federal programs. And there were some Republicans who questioned the need because they're like, look, the government shutdown has ended. It ended as of last Wednesday. So they're like, what is the point to this? However, it did get passed to have that kind of reserved funding for any of these situations. And I think it's important because this goes beyond um just your SNAP benefits and things like that. They're like, look, the SNAP benefits are back. We don't need to focus on that anymore. And I don't think that is true. I think for me, largely looking at federal programs that are being cut and ended, but those programs that fund things that people need. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have, health programs being cut or Department of Education programs being cut at the federal level, that affects people locally, that affects people who are employed. And if it's something that is so, you know, that is largely needed in your direct community and it just gets cut, I think it would be great for your state to be able to step in and say, hey, here's X amount of dollars to fund this for the next maybe 6 to 12 months, and then just see what you can do, see if you can, get some more like charitable funding, or maybe these people now know, okay, I have basically, I'm on a contract, I have 6 to 12 months to find me another job, or the families, whoever's impacted, they know what time limit they have, as opposed to one day it's here, the next day it's gone, and you don't have anything to fall back on. So I think outside of looking at it as just SNAP benefits, I think it's very important to put something, that contingency in place, because should a program just be cut off, at least the state level can step in and say, here's X amount to carry you through. Maybe it's only 90 days, whatever it is, just to help people out, because we are in a very scary place where you don't know what the federal government's going to do, and at any moment a program could just be cut, and now that population that was being served by that federal grant and or program is gone in the blink of an eye. So I think that is something that is very important. I do like that the state proposed that. I will say there were Republicans that questioned it, but there were also 11 that agreed, and I think anyone with any type of conscience could agree that, hey, we can't build up these programs. Some you may say are useless, but some are helping people, and then just cut them at a moment's notice. Like, that's just not fair to people, especially if it's, for me, it always goes back to the babies, okay? If it affects the children, someone needs to step in. I don't think families and children should go hungry. That's just not okay to me morally, to be like, "Oh, go hungry," I just don't believe that personally. So when I saw this, I was like, "Okay, cool. I like that." I think that is a great idea. There was some more discussion on the housing reform, because again, the people are not loving it. When I say the people, locally, in Connecticut, the Republicans, Democrats, just they don't love the idea of it. And I don't know. I just think, a lot of people, especially when you sit in these government meetings and things like that, they miss the bigger, sorry, that's a alarm. They miss the big picture, um when they're so focused on only what they know. And that's why it's important, I always say, to get involved and to make your opinion and your feelings heard, because then it can be taken into consideration. If they don't know, they don't know what they don't know, so you have to get out there and speak to it. But I just feel like the housing thing, I don't know, it's missing something to me, so that's that on that. Next, I wanted to get into the Access Health CT enrollment, which also is kind of like the help me with my words, guys, the Affordable Care Act, right? So it's the Affordable Care Act, and Connecticut created the Access Health CT under the Affordable Care Act. So that the goal of that before the government shutdown was to either enhance or extend the Affordable Care Act. And that's really, if you guys remember, we had spoke about it before when we discussed the government shutdown. That's why a lot of Democrats were holding out. They were holding out on their votes in order to get what they wanted to see with the ACA. And it didn't happen. Although the government, has been resumed and it's come, to pass as of Wednesday, we didn't see those enhanced premium tax credits. And, a lot of government officials in Connecticut, as well as people in the healthcare field, had advised people not to sign up for new premiums in hopes, right? Or new coverage, I should say, in hopes that things would change or it would be extended, because a lot of these federal programs, as it relates to the ACA, are going to be ended by the end of 2025. And so now we're going to see a large increase. I think I was reading it was going to be like a 200% increase across the board, especially in Connecticut. So granted, I don't know what this looks like out in, Utah. I don't know what this looks like out in Texas or Florida or whatever. I can't tell you what it looked like in Connecticut though, okay? And with that impact, what we're going to see is a lot of premiums and things like that increased. And you have to think, if this is supposed to be the Affordable Care Act, it needs to be affordable. This doesn't seem like it's going to be the most affordable thing. So those insured under that ACA are going to feel it. They're definitely going to feel it. So a lot of people, again, like I said, are going to see their premium skyrocket by next year because it is supposed to end at the end of 2025. Now, in October, the Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont stated that if coverage becomes unaffordable, hospitals will absorb the uncompensated care costs, which could drive up prices for everyone in the long run. So, what does that look like? That looks like, I don't have health insurance, so I'm just going to wait until I need to go to the emergency room but I don't have health insurance. So now what's going to happen is you have to think about how fast it is, right? And so many people, sorry for hitting that mic, so many people always want to go to the hospital, right? They have a little cough or a little tickle in their throat or their eye hurts and they're going to the hospital. They're getting and they're accumulating because, as we know, in America across the board, going to the hospital, whether it's giving birth, emergency room, any type of procedure, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Therefore, you're accumulating bills on something you know you can't afford to pay back, and you also don't have insurance because it is so expensive. So now the hospital is not, I'm not going to say the hospital is going to be in debt, but they're going to kind of be in debt because they have to serve people, and they know they're serving people who can't afford to pay these things back. So what happens now? At some point, somebody's got to eat that cost. So to Governor Ned Lamont's point, at some point, someone, meaning everyone, is going to have to eat that cost of people who can't afford it because now it's become unaffordable. And then we have the Republican House Minority Leader Vincent Candelora, who said residents, meaning like Connecticut residents, should have expected these subsidies to end. Now, I do completely agree with that sentiment alone, okay? Because a lot of these decreased premiums and tax credits we saw as a way to deal with COVID-19, right? Because COVID was something unexpected. People did not know, obviously that this would happen, how long it would last, yada, yada, yada. So we saw that this happened. And what happened was they were like, okay, people are out of work. We don't know when people are going back. They need to go to the hospital. Obviously, they need to get checked out because it's COVID, things like that. So premiums were decreased, or you had these credits and things like that. But at some point, we're now 5, 6 years later. Yeah, it was going to change. However, I think what people anticipated was it's going to change and maybe the economy will be at a more stable place down the line, right? Like, we put these things in place, we have these credits, these tax credits, these reduced premiums, and maybe down the line, the economy will be better and, it'll kind of like level itself out. That's not what's happening. Okay. That is not what is happening. What is happening is we are now seeing that the economy is still messed up. Okay. People still can't afford to live. To me, it feels worse than it's ever been. As far as from COVID to now, it feels like it's the worst it has kind of ever been. I think, people are struggling to do a lot more, but that's besides the point. So I do agree there should have been some anticipation that, hey, this wasn't going to last forever, because nothing lasts forever. So at some point this was going to end. So I don't think that, we can totally be upset at Trump, because at some point, babes, this had to end. It was written, right? I told you guys when I looked at oh my God, the big beautiful bill, when I looked at it, some of it was edits to effective dates. Like, this was supposed to end here. Now we're going to extend it to here, and that's when it's going to end. And things just have to end. Is it, what we would want? No, but things have to end. So I do agree with that. My other point is that because the government shutdown has ended, the Democrats kind of gave in with no resolve for the Affordable Care Act. But there is just, it's two sides to that coin. It's a double-edged sword, if you will. Yes, the government shutdown ended as of Wednesday. We got it. The Democrats didn't get what they were holding out on. We got it. But what happened is bigger issues arose. Now, to me, I can't be mad at the Democratic Party for giving in per se when we saw what was happening with SNAP benefits and other things. The Republicans could give a damn if this runs out. They could not care less if it ran out. Not saying all across the board, but they could not care less if it ran out. So they can sit back, cross their arms, and be like, yep, we'll just wait it out and see. Because you are so for the people. You are, meaning the Democrats, you present yourself as for the people. Now look what's happening to the people. So either you're going to concede and agree with what we put forward, or you're going to keep letting these families and these children go hungry and hope they find the money somewhere, because we're not going to go and put forth the money, especially not when they just got the extension for the appeals board to look at what they're proposing and needing to do X, Y, and Z. Like, it's just going to be a long and drawn out process. So I think they were between a rock and a hard place, meaning the Democrats. They were between a rock and a hard place, and they had to make a decision. Either we end this government shutdown, or we let families and children go hungry. And I think that is just where it fell. And they chose the families and the children, which is respectable. But also on the other end, they gave up a lot, which, how do you pick, right? How do you pick? You guys let me know and drop a comment below and let me know, how would you pick? Would you choose to let families and children go hungry and say, hey, we'll figure that out on the back end? And when I say families and children go hungry, I don't just mean SNAP benefits. People are out of work. The checks are not coming in. They've got to pay bills, rent, mortgage, like that type of situation. Do you let all of that just say, hey, we'll handle that on the back end? Or do you just, with no resolve for the things that you are actually holding out on, like the Affordable Care Act, do you just say, hey, we'll deal with this one? Like, which one do you choose? To me personally, I don't know which one I could choose. I think I would want to, in all honesty, resolve the immediate issue, which is making sure that people are paid, right? Government workers, military workers, SNAP benefits, all of these things are paid. And that's more of like an immediate soothe, and then deal with, the Affordable Care Act and those type of situations after the fact. And that's why, with this, they're like, okay, maybe we can get an extension. Now that we've agreed, maybe we can get an extension. Maybe we can fight for something else, or to update, like just do something on the back end now that we've signed. But we need to resolve something immediately, and people can no longer, especially not going into the holidays, not be paid, not be able to pay their rent, their mortgage. Because then, like we also saw in California, where they were like, okay, this government shutdown's happening, let's offer, these like rent protocols, and kind of better the situation than they did when COVID happened. So all of that is happening as it connects to the government shutdown, right? And I think, I don't know which way I would have fell, to be honest with you. I think my gut would have led me to solve something immediately and then handle the rest on the back end. Now, with that being said, we are now going to jump in to our headlines. So, the first thing, of course, I think we have to discuss this tax rebate tariff check that President Trump has proposed. To be honest, guys, I don't even know how to feel about this or discuss this. Personally, I hate it. I hated it when they did when he did the COVID check. So it was at 1,200, 1,500. I don't even know how much it was. I don't even believe I got one. And then I feel like I did at some point, but like, cause I feel like I just put it in savings, but I was like, can we return it? Can we return it? Because I'm just a logical person. Like, nothing is free without some type of cause and effect, you know what I mean, without some type of consequence, and everyone was so excited. So many people just like were like, I hope I lose my job because I'll just be out on unemployment. Like it was so many different things. And for me, I was like, can we return it? Like, can they give it to us and then be like, oh, if you were like to return it, da 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 da, da, or donate it back to the government, like whatever? Because I just didn't see it being a good solution. And now that he's talking about these tariff rebates checks, a lot of Republicans in Congress are also lukewarm to the idea of these checks. So now Republican Ryan Zinnick, he stated we're 36 to 37 trillion dollars, okay, in debt. To me, I think our bus is full. If you want to add something, then take something off the bus. That's just me. Listen, they are not too thrilled about what Trump wants to do. And I think Trump is the type of person where when his back's against the wall, he's gonna say something to please people or say something to kind of soothe the situation, but it really doesn't amount to anything. You know what I mean? He's the type of person that, like, if you're in his face about something, he's gonna be like, "Well, here's what we're gonna do," and it's something so like great and positive, but it's just to get you off his back. He doesn't care if it doesn't amount to jack shit. It's just to get you off his back. So this tariff rebate check sounds like something just to get people off his back. There's a lot coming down the pipeline, right? We got Epstein coming down the pipeline. We got the government shutdown. People aren't eating. All of these things are coming down the pipeline. And I feel like this is just something flippant that he said in order to get people off his back. You know, he especially in the Black community was known as that president that like gave us money. We was eating up under Trump. Like those are things we heard, okay? And so with that in mind, I think his biggest thing was like, "Oh, I can just say and or do that again," especially since he knows the money is there, and people will leave me alone, essentially, especially, and then you got the it's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot. I'm trying to stay away from Israel so bad, y'all. I mean, I am trying to stay away from anything regarding Israel, especially because, listen, I'm not the biggest podcaster platform known to man. Of course, right? We are a growing family. But the fact that the one video that I have done on Bibi Netanyahu still sits at view, one view, they're telling me one person has viewed it, is you cannot convince me that they do not censor and mute. Okay? If they can, especially I feel like if you're a smaller platform, they're going to censor and mute you because one view. So I just stay away from the man, okay? I just stay away from the man. I feel like if you watch the full video, we'll talk, but anything outside of that, I'm leaving it alone. I'm cuz you can see it, okay? You can see it. You can see it. I really so desperately want to go down that deep dive, but then I'm like, I can leave it to the big fish, I can leave it to the whales, I can leave it to the Candaces, I can leave it to the Tucker Carlsons and things like that. I can leave it to them to go out and say what they gotta say, okay? I see it clear as day. I'm sure you guys see it clear as day, but I'll leave it to them. Get off my diatribe. I digress. Moving on. So, after the defeat in the off-year elections that focused heavily on the economy and affordability, that's why we saw that big sweep, that big wave of blue, like I spoke about last week. The Trump and the Republicans are now like, so maybe they do care about the economy and the affordability. Because one thing for sure, what we can say, especially for myself, I do believe that Trump won off his like anti-war, American first speech rhetoric. That was what he was pumping and telling us. And then he got into office and did the exact fucking opposite. And so now people are like, okay, well, if you're not going to stand on that and I'm broke and hungry, I might as well just go back to this side because you can't even stand on what you said. At least, this side is talking about something to relieve something of me because you can't stand on what you're saying. So I definitely think they're seeing that and they're trying to They're trying to, especially Trump, they're trying to do something to get us back in and be like, no, 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 we care about it too. We care about it too. So he is proposing that there are $2,000 sent out for low and middle income Americans, investigate the rise in beef prices, lower the price of the popular weight loss drug. That's what is it? G1, GLP1, G1LP, GPL1, whatever the one that you be seeing Serena Williams promote. That one right there is not the Ozemi, but it is G1P element of. Whatever that one is, y'all. That's the one that he want to lower the prices of, okay? Also, he floated the idea of a proposal to establish a 50-year mortgage, which could lower homeowners' monthly payments. Listen, all of this here, what we could do is eliminate student loan debt. Let's be honest. What we could do is all this here, you can wrap that on up with a bow, give it away. Nobody wants it. Go ahead and eliminate student loan debt and watch how that economy flourish. Y'all told, bring it in. Y'all told so many of us millennials to go down there and get us a college education. Sure did. Didn't tell us what to get it in, just said go and get you a college education because in the future it'll pay off. You'll have money, you'll have a job, you'll have all these things. Go down to that schoolhouse and get you a college degree. So you know what us millennials did after being told to do that so much? We went and got a college degree. Guess what happened when we graduated? Did you guess? No one got a fucking job. Shocking. No one got a damn job. Didn't. Nope. All of us got out with our degrees, unless you were a nurse or a doctor or something like that, engineer. All of us got out and went and worked at retail. Tell the truth, shame the devil. All of us got out of college and went and worked in retail. And then after we worked in retail, we said, well, something got to give, something got to shake. So we went and got different jobs that had nothing to do with our diploma. And you know what else? A lot of these jobs, they didn't even ask about that degree. They didn't ask about that degree. They didn't ask about that education. You know what they asked about? Okay, give you a second. They asked about experience. Did you have the experience to do this? Do you have 8 years of doing this work? No, I don't, because I just spent 4, maybe 8 getting this bachelor's and this master's that y'all told me was going to be so important. So now, I've accumulated almost $100,000 in debt. What? Almost $100,000 in debt, and nobody wants to relieve it. After all the propaganda about we have to go to school, no child left behind, push us all the way through, get us to college, accumulate the debt, and now we can't. Now no one wants to get rid of the debt. You got all this X, Y, and Z. How much was it? Did I write it down? I don't think I wrote it down, but it was something to the like 200 millions or something like that in this tariff money. And if you have the money, if you have the money, eliminate this student loan debt. I promise you it'll solve a lot of problems. I'm not saying this as a millennial that went to college. I'm saying this as a person who is realistic about the shit that's going on in America. We as millennials, we don't give a damn about your housing reforms if mortgage costs the same as an apartment. I'm just going to go ahead and get me an apartment rented because I can't afford the upkeep. Let's be honest. A lot of people don't buy homes because you got upkeep. Okay. You got to think about who gonna mow it. Then I'm gonna need a lawnmower, all these expenses. Okay. Then these homes, they go up faster than the construction workers are putting these homes up in under 30 days. Okay. So now the home, it's put up, it looks beautiful on the pictures. We all know the millennial gray, right? The millennial gray, the millennial white, the home goes up. You focus on giving us a tariff rebate check. No, take that money and eliminate some student loan debt. Y'all go and pay. I don't even think it's not even Sally Mae no more. I don't know who we paying back. Y'all go and pay them back. Okay. Go ahead and pay them back since you want to do something with this money. And that's how you stimulate the economy. The only thing millennials are doing now, we are paying our rent, and paying to travel. We don't care nothing about them homes. You can't trick and fool us. Some of us, yeah, we might try to do a little invest in real estate, but for the most of us, the large majority of us, the reason why we're having less babies, the reason why we aren't buying homes, it has nothing to do with where they are and this, that, and the third, and the mortgages. No, babes. People are listen, we got debt over our head. Do you know what debt does? When you want to go out and get you a loan and do all this stuff, you know what they look at? They look at your income and they look at your debt and they compare the two. And then they say, can you afford this? And if your debt is higher than your income, they're going to say, no, you can't afford this. So if you want to shift that, lower the debt on people, and that way their income is higher than their debt. Hello. I don't know. To me, that just makes a little bit of sense. Okay. This tariff rebate check, you can keep it if you want to donate it to Sally Mae. I don't know who it is now. I don't believe it's Sally Mae. But when I was coming up, it was old girl Sally. So you can donate it to Sally and alleviate some of that. You also know what debt does? Debt crashes your credit. Talk about it. We want to talk about all these credit card companies and the credit, the credit, the credit. And we don't discuss why everyone's running to a credit card. I'm just saying, Trump, again, bring it in. I don't care about the rise in beef prices. I don't give a damn. I don't care about establishing a 50-year mortgage. A millennial was never buying a house to begin with. Like you know what I'm saying? Do you know the people that you're serving? We don't care about that. And then this weight loss drug, people was gonna find a way to lose weight regardless of how much it was. If you want to lose weight bad enough, you was gonna find a way to lose weight. So lowering the price, it don't matter. The people still gonna be fat. Anyways, according to Politico, I'm sorry. I just got real passionate about that because I hate when y'all as in the Republicans and then Democrats and these politicians, when y'all get in front of us to start talking about giving us money and investigating this and the economy that and stimulate the economy, yet and still no one talks about getting rid of student loan debt. Don't nobody want to do it in a real way because in all honesty, you rather keep a shackle to the debt and then sprinkle some nonsense to be like, "Ooh, here you go. Here you go." You know that thing where it's like, oh, you're chasing the carrot, but the carrot's hooked to the string and the person's just like fishing and you're just running after the carrot, they're just dangling that in front of you. You could keep the 2000, babes. I'm gonna be honest with you. You could keep the 2000. That 2000 gonna be here today, gone tomorrow. I can't do a goddamn thing with that 2000. What you can do though. Okay. Anyways, so with that being said, Republicans are now looking at ways to focus on affordability in the economy because that's what people are all talking about. So Trump suggested using the tariff revenue for bailing out farmers, paying for nutrition assistance, the troop salaries, and things of that nature. However, here's an interesting thing. The things that aren't spoken about. The tariff revenue goes into the General Treasury Fund. Any use of more than $200 billion collected this year would have to be determined by Congress. Therefore, Trump can't do shit with that money if it's over $200 billion. So there's that. Now this tariff rebate check idea is floating around for anyone meaning an American, earning less than $100,000 a year. Now, Trump, let me tell you something. Did you ask anybody about the percentage of people that make $100,000 a year? If you didn't, I got you. 59 to 61% of Americans earn less than $100,000. So that means more than half the country you would have to supply $2,000 to. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just so much more we could be doing than this. You understand? Take that money, Okay, I don't know if you want to sit down and have the conversation of how we can eliminate student loan debt. We could start there, but um you want to take this money and go do what with it for more than half the country? $2,000, sir? Shut the fuck up. Let's be honest, okay? And then also, to me, I think it's a little bit unfair because $100,000 ain't no lot of money. Like, I don't know why we got stuck on $100,000. Like, oh, if you earn that, then you don't get it. $100,000, those people are still struggling, babes. Just to be clear, they are still struggling. Why? Because if you have a millennial making $100,000, guess what they are also still trying to pay off, because with that $100,000, they most likely have a bachelor's and a master's. That's 8 years of education, 8 years of debt they have accumulated that they need to pay back. On top of bills, housing, food. We also see the price of food. That's not going down. Like, stop. And this is why I get so riled up and I want to talk to you guys. And I have to say it every time. Get rid of student loan debt. I'm telling you. Or just cut it in half. Just be like, look, we're going to pick these, like, we'll pick, we'll get the figures for what states have the largest student loan debt. And if you went to school in California, New York, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and I don't fucking know, somewhere in the Midwest, right? Chicago, or Illinois, right? Somewhere in the Midwest, just to, throw them in there. If you went to school in these states, because these have the top 5 to 10 student loan debts where, we've seen students, and I don't fucking know. We can, we can sit down and brainstorm it, but do that and then say we're going to send X amount to cancel that, X amount to cancel that, X amount to cancel that. Stimulate the economy in a real way, bro. This is not it. Then, because I did see that 59 to 61% earned less than 100,000 in 2025, I said, well, what was it in 2024? In 2024, it was approximately 58%. So that means it went up in 12 months. So what you think is going to happen next year? What do you think is going to happen next year? Listen, okay? So when I hear all of that, and then he's talking about 2,000 for low and middle income Americans, I believe more than half the country is low income. And the reason why I say that is because I believe, as we saw during COVID, more than half the country is quite literally one missed paycheck, one missed crucial paycheck away from being below the poverty line, homeless, poor, broke, however you want to slice it and dice it. One missed paycheck away. And I personally believe that a lot of people, their expenses are more than their income. So for me, if your expenses and what you dish out is more than your income, you are a low income American. Period. Because your income is lower than what you need in order to survive. That makes you low income. This whole it's attached to a dollar amount doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know, maybe I'm just off in that thinking, but if you make $100,000 but your expenses is 150,000, you're low income because your income can't support the lifestyle you need. Now, that's not to say that you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, because it could, again, like I said, be debt, be a mortgage, be, schooling. You got to pay for 2 to 3 kids to go to college, all these different things, right? And you're still trying to pay back your own college degrees and stuff like that. So that 100,000 don't mean nothing if your expenses would need you to really be at 150,000. You are low income because, God forbid, you miss a paycheck, lose your job. Like, let's say you're a federal employee and now your job is just gone. You know what I mean? Like, you're not able to stabilize and be able to live. You are low income. There is a very, very small bucket of people who I would say are middle class and above. Middle class, I feel like you might can go, you know, 90 days to like 6 months, stretched a little thin, but you'll make it, right? Then you have the rich where you don't really have to worry. Like you're kind of like you're good, you're cushy, you're comfortable, everything's being paid, your income and your expenses kind of match out. Your income might exceed your expenses. That's good. You know what I mean? Things like that. And then you have your wealthy where, baby, it don't matter what you do, you're gonna be good. But to me, the majority of Americans, if COVID did not teach us nothing, the majority of Americans are low income. Low income meaning, again, your income is lower than your expenses. Your expenses far exceed what you're bringing in on a monthly or annual basis. Therefore, Trump, your $2,000 for low and middle class Americans is so misguided because I would say more than half, if not all of Americans are in that boat of low income, high expenses. It's just the way it is. I don't know if that's a recession indicator. I don't know what it is, but I think that is where we are. And until we acknowledge that, all of this tariff rebate, giving people free money, don't mean a damn thing. Because yes, it'll stimulate the economy, but as we saw with COVID, what did that also do? Increase inflation. So this sounds cute. People love a good little free dollar. It won't do much in the long run. Next up, a real quick little thing, the penny. The penny is gone. Oh, what a day. Personally, I believe, y'all can let me know if I'm a little off. I believe they're slowly getting us to a place where we no longer have physical currency and everything is digital and on our phones. However, my biggest issue with that is a lot of criminal activity is done and it goes undetected because it's hand to hand cash, it's hand to hand payments, right? If everything is done digitally and you can track it on a device, I don't know what that looks like for the criminal underworld. And I don't just put that on prostitution and drug dealers. You have politicians who are also doing hand to hand um interactions with money. You know what I mean? And I just think you have to use your imagination that if you go digitally, you're going to like quickly find people. And then it also will, here's my rabbit hole. Follow me. If you remove currency, paper currency, coins, and things of that nature, I feel like you decrease the amount of people who commit crimes. Okay. I'm just saying, like, in the long run, because again, they start with a penny, they got to do a nickel, then they have to do a dime, like, you know what I mean? Like, or they can group them all together and, like, this is going to be down the line. But when you get rid of these things and you rely on digital currency, right? And I know they try to champion the Bitcoin and all of these things like that, right? And your Apple wallets and whatever else. When you get rid of the coin, you make it easier for criminals to be caught, whether it's your politician, your drug dealer, or your prostitute, or whatever in between. You make it easier for people to get caught. One of America's biggest, I honestly feel like it's like a I don't want to say a crime or like a, I don't know, but the prison system, right? It's what generates a lot for the American economy. I feel like you would see a decrease in people going to prison because who would want to exchange money digitally and leave a trace, right? Like money, there's kind of no trace. But if you have it digitally, like you can't, to me, it looks crazy to sell drugs digitally and things of that nature or wires because all of it can be traced at some point. So, if you're following my thought, I just feel like you're now going to decrease the prison system and people going to prison for doing things illegally, especially if it comes with money, maybe murders and all that other stuff. But you're going to decrease that population. But I just feel like that's where we're headed. We're headed that way so they can track what people are bringing in, right? Like who has what type of money. And it starts with a penny where it's inconsequential. No one gives a damn if a penny is no longer being being produced and made, especially when they're claiming there's billions of pennies still out there and it's still legal tender. Like, you still can pay things with a penny. They're just not producing them anymore. But I think it's something where if we feel it's inconsequential, there it doesn't really affect us that much. Come 20 years later, they can do the same thing with a nickel and a dime, right? And then they're saying that with when they're not producing it, right, it's going to save taxpayers 56 million. You can do the same in 10, 15, 20 years with a nickel and a dime and say, "Oh, it's going to save taxpayers $235 million dollars. We're not going to produce it." And you're like, "Okay, whatever." Like, they got rid of a penny and we didn't feel it. Now they're getting rid of a nickel and dime, we don't feel it. Before you know it, we're going to have no actual cash that's being produced, and everything is going to be digitally and on your phone. And now you're going to be tracked. Every single dollar you spend is now going to be able to have a paper trace, or a digital trace, I should say. And to me, that's a little terrifying. But I digress. Maybe I'm a little and could, got my like tin hat on and I'm like into conspiracy land, but I don't know. I just don't understand the point. You know what I mean? I get the penny, but I don't know. It's just a slippery slope. And again, I could be deep off into conspiracy land, but y'all know that's my bag. I be into my conspiracies. Next up, what I did want to discuss, two things actually, real quick. We're gonna hit it and quit it. It's not gonna be that long. A transgender person was at the center of a LA gym, um, like debacle, because they insisted they were entitled to use the women's locker room. Here's my issue, okay? Personally, I'm not for the you need to let me into a space that I don't belong. And I feel that the greatest argument of this was, if you feel you are such a woman, then you would understand the woman's perspective of not wanting someone to have male genitalia walking around butt naked, while they're also in there trying to, clean up, go to the bathroom, this, that, and the third. If you were such a woman, you would be able to understand that perspective. To me, that's the greatest argument that can be made. Secondly, if y'all want to be so inclusive of these spaces, please go ahead and build you in a gender neutral bathroom. Point blank, period. Carry your ass to that gender neutral bathroom, because I feel as though women deserve and must have the right to say, I don't want to see a male penis while I'm trying to use the bathroom. Period. Point blank. I don't think there needs to be this big discussion of being transphobic, this, that, and the fourth, because I don't want to see your dick. Bro, please go and take that somewhere else. Now, you can go into the male bathroom and walk around in all your sweet glory, because a man might see you in there with, lipstick, this, that, and the fourth. But what he does understand is you can go and carry that into the woman's bathroom. So he might look at you and be like, bruh, tripping. Like, you know what I mean? He ain't here with lipstick and stuff. But at least you have the wherewithal to not go and then impose that onto a woman. And he might, be like, bruh, tripping. Let me stay away from him. He got lip gloss on and all this, that, and the third. But he gonna do his business and keep it pushing. As a woman, there's that, to me, that's borderline, if not sexual assault. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just too much. And I think we're getting to a place where we allow all of this without fully standing up for a woman. Like, stand up for the women, real biological women. We don't deserve to have to walk out and see your phalanges and things of that nature swinging this around. Sir, please. Mr. Ma'am, enough. Leave us alone. And a lot of, people in the trans community did say, like, he was out of line, and then a lot of stories about him and him being an abuser and, stalking his ex-girlfriend, and then, going through this big tumultuous breakup. Then randomly now you're trans. Spare me. Spare me. Okay. The last thing I wanted to discuss was a Texas state trooper who was relieved of game day duties after his altercation with the South Carolina wide receiver, Nick Haber. Now, I wanted to quickly discuss this, and that's the last thing I had to talk to you guys about. I wanted to quickly discuss this because what's the best way I can say this? People people fail to believe that white privilege is a real thing. White privilege is indeed a real thing. I think what frustrates me is the idea that it doesn't exist. I don't think it exists all day every day, but it does exist. How I know it exists is because as a black American who lives in this world as a black American, I can tell you for a fact I have been walking down streets, walking through malls, walking and at work, in the library, just going into the coffee shop, all these things. And there's this entitlement of a white person where either you get out my way or you move out my way while I walk towards you. There's this entitlement of if I get to the door, you, as a black person, need to open the door and hold the door for me. When I walk through the door, no, 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 no. If I see you behind me, I don't need to hold the door and keep the door open for you. That is a privileged mindset. So, although we don't have the full story, you could tell me a gamut of things. Maybe Nick said something to the state trooper that we didn't see. Yada yada yada. What I can tell you is what I saw and having been in that interaction before. Someone is walking to you who feels swole up in the chest, right? And you see two black people walking towards you. They need to part the Red Sea in order for you to walk through. They need to move out the way. They need to, so you can walk through. White Americans, y'all do that. Y'all do that non-stop. And I hope that this can be a message to you so you realize it. Okay? All those times where it could be me, 5 feet tall black girl, walking through the mall. It's you, it's the mom, the grandmother, the dad, two kids. Y'all taking up the whole walkway. It would be more comfortable for you if I stop walking, stand to the side, pivot my body, and let y'all walk by instead of y'all parting and being like, oh, excuse me, and letting me walk right through you guys. No, it doesn't register in your mind that you should probably also be considerate and move and get the fuck out the way so someone else can walk through. Same thing with aisles. We're in a shopping store, right? You got your cart horizontally. You're standing here, you and your husband. So now you're blocking the whole row. You see me coming down with my buggy, my cart. Nothing in your mind says, let me get out the way. And I see it a lot more in white women. I will be honest. I see it a lot more in white women because the husband will be like, oh, excuse me. And they'll look over their shoulder with the nastiest mug. Like, how dare you move that cart for her? She could have waited. That's what y'all do. So when I see clips like this, and I understand people are going to say, well, this is an overreaction. No, he shouldn't be suspended. No, he shouldn't lose his job. You guys are making yourselves victim. No, we deal with it every single day. Your Meemaw and your Pawpaw, when they at the grocery store, Meemaw sit there and roll her eyes like, yeah, you could just wait for me to go and get my baked beans off the shelf. And once I feel like putting my baked beans in my cart and moving out the way, then and only then can you get by me. And don't let Pawpaw grab the cart and move the cart. Oh, now she got the nastiest eye roll for you to walk by. Or what they'll do is you'll say, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. And they'll just keep sitting there. Then me, because I'm good for this. I'm going to give you one excuse. I know I'm soft-spoken, so I'll give you two excuse me. After that, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, this car is going to beat up every inch of your car. You're going to be like, oh. Well, what you thought I was standing here for? You thought I was going to wait for you to finish shopping to get where I got to go to? Absolutely not, Miss Ma'am. Absolutely not. And you know what I'm good for? Because again, as a white American with white privilege, if cops are called, guess who word they're going to believe? Okay. If we're walking in a store, I'm going to do just what them two boys did, like with South Carolina. If we walking in the store, and I'm going to do little something extra. I got my purse and we walking towards each other, and I can already tell from your body language you're not trying to move. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna grab my purse up real close to me, right? And I'm gonna boop, and I'm gonna shoulder check you. Each and every time, each and every time, each and every time, I'm gonna do it. Because there's no way you feel as though I need to move and part the Red Sea as a single person. Last time I be by myself to get out your way. And that same reaction when he turned around and he started yelling at them, that's how y'all do. That's how y'all move. That's how y'all do and how y'all move, because there's a certain level of privilege of y'all need to get out of my way. Not let's mutually move around each other. Let's show each other respect. It's respect me because I'm of the palm colored descent. And that's all I'll say about that on that. I just wanted to be very clear that I don't need too much of the story because I can read body language, especially in situations I've been in.